This is one of the best new decks in Shadow Era. It is Markus with Kyberians. I've gotten to number 2 in the ratings with it, and over here I've got a 13 win streak. Actually, I no longer have a 100% win rate if we refresh the page, as I did make a loss to Gwen. But yeah, 13 win streak with this deck, and it's really strong. And basically, yeah, let's just hop into a replay. If I can click on the right thing. Nope. Okay. Multiplayer. Now, I've played a lot of games, and some of them against some really strong opponents, but I think this deck can go really crazy, and this is one of this replay is specifically an example of when you get what you need and how just like scary strong it can get unchecked. So we're playing Kyberians. Now, Kyberians to me are like a take on the undead kind of idea of killing your own allies and getting advantage from having your allies in your own graveyard. So you're trying to summon your allies early. That's what you always want to do, is summon your ally. Here in this case, we're playing our Kyberian Reviver on turn 3. We want to be playing our allies and then killing them for an advantage. And that's why Markus is such a strong hero with the Kyberians. You can kill your own ally to kill an opposing ally. Now, this is a really cool combo. We're going to use this card, Kyberian Vampirarch. It says when it's killed, it attaches to an opposing ally as an attachment. That ally is disabled, and when it's killed, you take control of it. So this is an incredible card because essentially, let me pause because I've, is it going to pause? Okay. The reason it worked like that is because Markus kills your ally and then it kills the opposing ally. And so if you kill your own Vampirarch and then kill the opposing ally, it first attaches to that ally and then you steal it. So Markus plus Vampirarch is very strong on that turn 4 as basically a steal of their strongest ally if they only have one ally out. If they have multiple allies out, it gets a little less strong. And then what we just did here is we used Kyberian Reviver, which synergizes really well with twice Enchanted Robe because it deals you 4 damage when you revive something, and you just revive any Kyberian ally. And it only costs 1 Shadow Energy. So this is a really undercosted card, except for the fact that it's dealing you 4 damage. And we're trying to turn that into an advantage with twice Enchanted Robe. And the other part of its passive is that it heals you for 1, so that actually kind of makes up for the downside of reviving an ally. I think that's a very strong effect, to deal yourself 4 to revive an ally for only 1 Shadow Energy. As you can see, we just got our Vampirarch back, and that makes our opponent really not want to kill it. Why would you kill the Vampirarch if it's just going to disable and then steal your ally? Luckily, we have a way to kill it ourselves with Sacrificial Lamb. We're going to go ahead and attach that to their elite, so when that elite dies, we get it back. But actually, we just drew into our Kyberian Wine, and for that reason, we're not even going to bother attacking their allies. We're actually going to go attack face. So Kyberian Wine says whenever you basically leave combat with your opposing hero with a Kyberian ally, they take a burn damage, and you get a durability on the wine. For 2 durability, you can revive a Kyberian ally from your graveyard and basically have it with no abilities and 1/1 stats. Now, that's fantastic with cards like Sacrificial Lamb and Markus. Markus doesn't care about the stats on your ally, it just cares that you're killing an ally, and so it really gets insanely good. So we're just going to be working up that durability on the Kyberian Wine while also dealing that ping damage and creating a swarm that our opponent is going to have a really hard time dealing with. And we don't even mind if there's a Tidal Wave, because again, our Vampirarch is basically currently attached to the Kyberian Elite. So if our opponent Tidal Waves, we get their Elite, and that's actually kind of good for us. So yeah, we don't even care about our opponent's board. Yeah, they have a Devoted Knight and a Towering Brute, but it's not really going to matter to us all that much because we're going to be able to just attack them here. And like, it looks like our board is really wimpy. We've got, a bunch of 1-attack allies. But there's a card, Sebastian, that is kind of your finisher card. It readies all your 1-attack allies or 1-health allies, so that can be a really cool way to deal some extra damage too. And then you can attack with them again, and of course that damage is doubled with the wine. So it's an excellent finisher card, And so this is the deck list. I've reworked it a couple times. I'm not sure about the exact ratios. I'm still working on that. But we really want to see Kyberian allies and fuel our grave as soon as possible. So even though I don't like the Vanguard that much, I would much rather see the Seductress. We're running a total of 7 to cost allies. The Seductress is much better because the Seductress helps you stall against an ally deck, and against a weapon deck, you can disable their opposing hero, and that's really, really strong to disable the opposing hero for a turn. It just completely wrecks weapon heroes when you can draw into it. Sometimes, if your opponent is clever, they won't leave a weapon up, so just so you can't kill your own Seductress against their weapon and disable them. So this really slows down weapon heroes, and this is our main way to hopefully deal with weapon heroes. Now, my one loss was to a Gwen that did that kind of. They were running a new card. What is it? It's a hunter card, and it only costs 1. Yeah, this card was really good against our deck because they were able to revive a 5 attack weapon. I think that Gwen deck is very, very strong right now. Just as a way to get a 5 damage weapon that you're attacking twice with. Yeah, very good card there. But anyway, that's kind of a tangent. Anyway, this can handle most weapon heroes that aren't able to do that, like bringing weapons back and destroying their own weapons so that you can't disable their hero. It's just an amazing card. This is definitely one of the stronger cards that's also very splashable. I would not be surprised to see this end up in most shadow decks. Just a very solid card that's just amazing into weapon heroes and amazing against ally heroes. So yeah, cannot talk more good things about this card. Reviver is my favorite, one of my favorite cards. It's got in this deck at least, it's got this amazing passive of when you kill your own ally, you heal damage. That's just fantastic value. And so having a couple of these up and you start healing a ton for killing your own things. And again, we kill our own things with Markus and Sacrificial Lamb, so we do want to kill our own stuff, and this just lets us heal back up for that. That passive is amazing. We also have an active that's going to revive a Kyberian ally for only 1 shadow energy and dealing ourselves 4 damage. In my opinion, that's well worth it. I mean, there are some matchups where maybe you don't want to be damaging yourself that much, but this is just ridiculous. And I'll just talk about a combo we didn't see in that video. If you have a Kyberian Reviver out and you revive a Sebastian, that readies your Reviver so you can revive another thing. So Reviver into Sebastian into revive again, and then you can revive, say, your Kyberian Necromancer. Then your Kyberian Necromancer triggers its effect, puts the top 2 allies in your grave back into play as 1/1s, and suddenly you have a gigantic board. You've got a 4/7, a 3/5, 2 1/1s, and the Reviver out. So just one card can create that's 4 cards. So you have 5 cards on board out of 1 single card. All you have to do is use 2 shadow energy for that. Amazing card for that reason. Now, Widow is honestly only in here because it's a 3-cost Kyberian ally. We need that because we can revive this off of something like our Kyberian Wine or our Kyberian Necromancer, and then we can Sacrificial Lamb it to draw 3 cards. So that 3 cost is really crucial there, and sometimes you're not going to draw into Reviver. So while Reviver is the much better card in my opinion, Widow is just kind of in there because it is a Kyberian and it is 3 cost, and we kind of need that in this deck. Its effect never comes up for me. I guess the passive when it's killed, reduce all opposing allies by 1 health is kind of useful sometimes, but usually we're just outright killing our opponent's allies, and that's not going to be very relevant. Kyberian Vampirarch was a painful cut for me because this is such a good card, especially in Markus. But the problem is we're already running so many 4-cost allies, and really I think the Necromancer wins it out for me. Being able to revive 2 allies from the graveyard at 1/1s is just too strong to not run out of 4 of. And so I'm running 4 of the Necromancer and only 2 of the Vampirarch. In an ideal world, if we wanted to, be a little less consistent or some, run a few extra cards, this is definitely something you can explore to 4 of. Again, it's an amazing card. I just feel like we have already a lot of 4 diffs, 4 cost cards. And we also have the twice enchanted Robe, which also competes for that 4 cost slot. So I really feel very heavy on 4 cost cards. Let's talk about the Necromancer, though. The Necromancer is insane in this deck because it's giving you that 1/1 that you can use with Markus to kill something, and you can also use this with Sacrificial Lamb, and it's just giving you those 1/1s that turn really scary with the Kyberian Wines. So late game, this card just becomes absolutely brutal. It's, a strong body all on its own at 3/5, and then reviving 2 1/1s is just crazy. Very good card here. Moving on, we have Sebastian. Now, the reason I'm running Sebastian out of 4 of is, yes, this is probably your first sacrifice of the game if you see it in your opening hand, but being able to threaten this at all times, just readying all your 1 health or 1 attack allies is just so ridiculous. Again, with the combo with your Reviver, you can revive multiple things per turn, put this on the board, and then at the end of the day, it's a 6 cost 4/7. That's very good stats, actually. And so having that really high statted line is super useful for this deck as just a way to kind of round out our curve, drop this on turn 6, ready our 1 attack allies, and just get that damage in. That's also putting durability on the wine. So this just synergizes so well with the deck. Like, you could knock this down probably a little bit if you wanted to kind of focus on the early game, but this is just so good late game. And the fact that it's unique does not matter because we can just kill it ourselves and then summon another one and keep readying our board because Markus kills and Sacrificial Lamb kills, so we can kill this very easily and keep going. Now we run the 4 Sacrificial Lamb. This is a very crucial card in this deck. We have to run 4 of it because we have so many ways to bring out these 1/1 tokens, and the best way to get value out of those 1/1s is to kill them with Sacrificial Lamb, draw 3 cards. This is just an amazing card, and it means we can go a little light on draw in other areas because of how consistently we can get the Sacrificial Lamb off. So we are actually kind of low on draw. I think not drawing into our draw cards is one of the main weaknesses of this deck and one of the ways that this deck can lose, but I just feel so good about having 4 Sacrificial Lambs in here. That's basically a free draw 3 that I think we can get away with being a little greedy. Bad Santa is just in here to help a little bit with the draw because we're not running that much draw. Now you'll notice that priests have very strong draw powers, but I'm not running the priest cards that give you draw. So let's go over that. Some cards I'm not running. I'm not running Glass Chalice. Amazing card in other priest decks. Where is Glass Chalice? I swear I saw it. Here it is. For 2 Shadow Energy, you basically look at 2 cards, pick one of them, and add it to your hand. That's an amazing ability, especially since it's letting you look at 2 and choose the best one. The problem is that we want our Shadow Energy. I mean, okay, I will say there are matchups where we don't want our Shadow Energy. That would be solo decks like the Gwen I played. That kind of if you're facing a deck that does not play allies, that's probably going to be what's going to be the best against this deck because we get our best value out of killing our opposing allies with the Markus. So solo decks kind of screw with that. But other than that matchup, Glass Chalice is something we don't want to see because we want to be killing our own allies with Markus. I think I always felt Shadow Energy low against ally decks, so that's why we're not running stuff like Glass Chalice. I need that Shadow Energy to not only fuel Markus, but fuel Reviver. Another very good priest card we're not running is Wizened Staff, and I wish I could just find it. You know, I'm just going to look it up. Wizened Staff. Another classic priest card that's very, very good that we're not running because it's costing that Shadow Energy, and we just really want our Shadow Energy for Markus. So I think this is a very big departure from what you see with most priest builds, because I would say the other priest heroes, so Xana, Jericho, and Threbin, these are just bad abilities. If you think about Threbin's ability is awful. It is worse than Gwen by like a mile. Because Gwen gets the 2 durability and the 2 attack. Threbin is just getting the 2 ability damage. Same with if you compare Threbin to even like a Serena. Serena lets you discard a card from the opposing hand, whereas Threbin does nothing additional other than give it essentially to attack to your weapon. Yes, there are synergies with arcane damage that I'm aware about, but it's essentially if you ignore that synergy portion, it's not giving you a lot of value. So that's why, and you can think about some other things. Jericho, 4 Shadow Energy to remove negative effects from one of your allies is pretty crap, and 4 Shadow Energy to destroy an attachment is also pretty crap. Like, it's just a bad ability because that's way expensive to destroy an attachment, in my opinion. And Xana is 3 Shadow Energy to heal 3, which is a very good effect sometimes, but sometimes it just does nothing for your board. You're not doing anything to advance your board state, put allies out there, buff them at all, or remove opposing threats. You're just healing yourself. And so I would say that Markus kind of is one of the best heroes because it's got a strong power and it has access to the priest pool. So one thing that's happened in the past that's kind of been holding back the other priest heroes is that they just have bad effects, but their card pool is really, really strong. Now, this power, kill a friendly ally to kill an opposing ally, this is like, even ignoring the fact that this is a priest hero, this is a top ability in the game. I would say, like, I can't think of another ability that does this much. It's like Boris, but without the downside of not being able to kill a fatty. And it's only 3 Shadow Energy. And all you have to do is kill your own ally, which you can usually do. So it just feels very, very strong as an ability. One of the strongest abilities ever printed, on top of the Priest card pool. So it's got the best of both worlds. One of the best card pools in the game with one of the best abilities in the game. That's why I think this hero is absolutely broken. Okay, I wouldn't say absolutely broken, but it's very, very, very strong. Yeah. Anyway, that was a long tangent, but moving back to the profile, 2 Focused Prayer. Now, this is kind of a weird one. I wanted to run like a lot of allies because we are like, that's our whole deck, is running all these allies, trying to get them into the grave. And so we're going a little lighter on abilities than I normally would feel comfortable with. There are a lot of decks out there right now that rely on their items and support abilities, so running more Focused Prayer would be really nice. It's just that I needed to make cuts to buff up, like increase the ratio of allies to non-allies, and so we had to kind of go lower on Focused Prayer. I think I would feel very good about running this at a 3 or 4 of even, but we just cut it down just for that little bit of more consistency in seeing our allies early. For Tidal Wave, probably the best card in the game, or one of them, so we're going to run all that we can, and yeah, I feel like Tidal Wave plus Markus means that if your opponent is playing weenies, you just Tidal Wave them, and your opponent floods the board, okay, Tidal Wave. If your opponent plays like one big threat, you just kill it with Markus. So you've got excellent coverage against both rush decks, decks that kind of spam the board, and decks that kind of play one ally that's really strong. So this just really covers us extremely well and shores up our bad matchup, which would normally be an opponent that like swarms the board and is very aggressive. We can Tidal Wave that, and it's no problem. Next, for Kyberian Wine, one of the new cards that's really, really strong right now. I love this card. I think this is an excellent card, and that's why I'm running 4 of it, even though you can only have 1 out at a time. I always want to see this card, so that's why we're running 4. This ability to have when a Kyberian leaves combat with an opposing hero, they take 1 damage, that works on defense too. So if you spam the board with your Kyberian allies and your opponent tries to go in with their weapon hero and start killing your board with their weapons, they're taking that 1 ping damage on their turn. So they're going to be low on health while trying to kill your board and dress your board, and that's what makes this an excellent card into those weapon heroes. But even when you're playing this against an ally deck, being able to hit the opponent's face and bring up durability on this to bring in a 1/1 token from the graveyard is insane with Markus. I've had games where I got this to like 11 durability because I had like 5 allies out that had 1 attack and 1 health, and then I readied all of them, and then they all dealt 2 damage instead of 1 damage because I had Wine out. And so, yeah, you can build the durability of this really, really fast. And getting that extra 1 damage in does not seem like much, but that adds up very fast. Especially when you go in for your Sebastian turns, you can really bring your opponent down from a really high health number all the way down very quickly. The other thing this card does, before I forget, is it gets around armors. So if you look at the Scale Forge decks that are trying to play like really strong armors, the King's Pride, for example, this pings through that. And that's really actually relevant in a lot of cases, especially now with the Scale Forgers becoming kind of popular to play, and a lot of people are running armors. Being able to ping through the armor is really, really cool. So just a card I always wanted to see, and a card that I think is very, very good. Next, Twice Enchanted Robe. I just think this card is excellent right now. Like against an ability damage deck, this just says you can't hit my face or I draw a card. And I've had games where I play this card and my opponent just doesn't attack me because they don't want me to draw cards. And I actually think that's the correct play. So this card either is drawing you cards and kind of helping your health because it has 1 defense, or it's saying to your opponent, don't attack me, which I'm totally fine with too. Fine. Spend a couple turns not attacking me. I'll draw 1 per turn and rebuild my board or whatever. I'll fish for my Tidal Wave and try to draw into my Tidal Wave. Feel free to not attack me. And then I'll draw into my outs to your board. So yeah, that's a very good card there. What else should I talk about? Yeah, let's talk about a couple cards I'm not running that I thought I tried and didn't like. So I tried a card called Emmy. This is one of the tribute cards. Now, this is very good with Markus. So if you're not running Kyberians, I would definitely run this card in Markus. But the problem with this card is it doesn't say Kyberian on it. And what we really want to be doing is filling the grave up with Kyberian cards. Just because Kyberian Wine cares about Kyberian allies, technically Necromancer doesn't care about Kyberian allies because it can be any ally. But yeah, actually, I guess it's mostly things like Sebastian and Kyberian Wine that made me want to run Vanguard over Emmy. I think Emmy is a very good effect. Draw a card when you summon it, and as a 1/1, you can just kill it with Markus and do that thing. But yeah, again, we want to maximize our Kyberian ally count. So I'm not running Emmy. I'm not running. Ooh, you know what? This could be a cool idea in this deck. I just thought of that, seeing this right now. Yeah, because we do run a lot of 1/1s, so that's interesting. Okay, so yeah, if you're trying this deck, I would suggest trying something like the King's Pride to buff all your allies. Now that does going to mean that it's not going to be readyable with Sebastian, but I think you don't really care that much if they're 3 attack. What else? Yeah, I already talked about the Glass Chalice. We're not running Devoted Knight again. We have the Kyberian 3 cost allies that we want to run over that. Yeah, I guess all the priest allies can just basically be summed up with we would rather run Kyberians because they say Kyberian on them. And I think that's about it that I wanted to talk about. So yeah, overall, again, this deck is crazy good. I would say that it's one of the best decks right now, and it's a very new, so a lot of people aren't going to know how to play against it. In terms of how strong this is, I would say it's competitive. I would definitely bring this to a tournament. I think this is one of the top decks. It's a little early for me to call whether it's going to be like tier 0, like the only deck you can play because it's so strong, but it's approaching that. I really do think it's approaching a level where there are no other decks that can compete with this because it has such great coverage against weapon heroes, against ability heroes, against ally swarm decks. You can just kind of deal with all of them because of how versatile all of the Kyberian allies are and how strong they are. So yeah, it's approaching that level. It's a little early to call, but very strong deck. I would highly recommend trying it out. So yeah, let me know if you do end up trying it out and how it goes for you in the comments. What do you think about this deck? And yeah, And that will do it for me. So thanks for watching, and see you next time. And here's the deck code.